So I'm really excited to be here. And Chico State and I have an affinity for the same thing, and that is sale. And one of the things that's drawn me to Chico State is their affinity to the Cypherline sales program and their support of sales in an environment where oftentimes sales has a negative connotation attached to it. And sales is something that, I've embraced unknowingly since a really young age. And what I found is, and what I get the opportunity to talk about, is sales and contrasting it between some of the sales that you need to make with yourself versus some of the sales that can be made on you by society and others. And some may be unethical, and that's unfortunate. But I'm talking about sales at a high level, ethical way, and how understanding that a sales skill set can incredibly enhance your future outcome and your life in an incredibly fulfilling way. A sales skill set. And so my background, I graduated from UC Davis in 2001. I graduated with a degree in managerial economics, and I thought at the time I would go back home to the Bay Area, which was at the tail end of the dot-com boom. I would submit my resume online through monster.com, which was new at the time. I would sit by the phone. It would start ringing because this thing, the internet, and .com was really big. These companies would start writing me offers and wanted to hire me because I had this degree. And I'd take a job at an internet startup. I'd take stock options. The company would get bought or go public in relatively short order. And I'd retire and have beer pong Fridays and boat race Fridays in jeans and a t-shirt for the rest of my life. That didn't happen. Only half of that happened. The first part, where I put my resume online and I waited by the phone. And after about a month and a half, my parents were like, "What are you doing?" Because I was living at home at the time on their couch. And so, I was starting to get a little concerned. I was like, man, this isn't how it's supposed to work. And I had literally visualized the fact that might actually happen. And it didn't. And when it didn't, I had a friend of mine that recently got hired in Hayward at it was actually a GE company, but they sold shipping containers. And the large shipping containers that you see on the back of Big Rig, they sold and leased them. And this was a job. I just graduated from UC Davis. My parents had spent a bunch of money on my education. And this is the job that they offered me. It's really the first job that I was offered. And I took it because I had to do something. That's how I felt. And I went there and I started working. And I was making $40,000 a year starting out. And after a few days, I started looking around. And the people around me, they were just headed in a different direction. In a direction that I didn't visualize my life 10, 15, 20 years from now. I didn't visualize it like that. I wanted to live life a lot differently. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do it here, which is really comfortable, I got my parents down the street, and here, I need to make more money because deep down I knew that I wanted to make at least $100,000 within 3 years of coming out of college. And at $40,000 starting off, I knew that wasn't going to happen. So the manager came in a couple days later. I said, "Hey, man, you have a minute?" He said, "Sure." We talked. I sat down with him, and I said, "Hey, look, I really want to make $100,000, and I want to make it really quickly, at least in a couple of years. So why don't we do this? Why don't I come in earlier, stay later, work harder, move some trailers, enhance the revenue, and you guys can pay me more money?" He said, "Oh, no, we can't do that." I said, "Okay." I quit. And I quit. I gave my 2 weeks notice. I was there for maybe 3 days, and then I gave my 2 weeks notice. And I said, this is not how I'm going to get to where I want to be. And when I realized what I wanted to do, I had a vision in my mind of exactly what I wanted my life to look like. And I didn't want to wait until 70 to start living my life in what you would call retirement. Because, first of all, I didn't know if I'd make it there. And I wanted to live my life between when I got out of college and 70. I wanted to live it at a high level. And I wanted to do it my way. And so right then and there, I made the biggest sale of my life, which I make to this day, every day. And that is a sale on myself. And that, I define it this way, and it's the way we defined it at the company I used to work for, is painting a picture of a future possibility, compelling enough to change one's actions in the present. Painting a picture of a future possibility, compelling enough to change one's actions in the present. If you really think that through and you break it down, it's an incredibly good definition of real sales. And so I painted a picture of my future possibility in my head. I wanted to be independent. I wanted a loving family. I wanted to live in an affluent area. And I wanted to be able to do all the things I wanted to do, including that financial achievement, personal achievement, physical and mental challenge and stimulation, hunting, fishing, wakeboarding, wake surfing, Ironman, family. And I knew that if I stayed there, my outcome, I might be able to do those things, but it would be at a totally different level, in a totally different direction, of which I didn't want. And so I had to sell myself on the fact that I'm going to do it differently. I'm not quite sure how, but I know why, and I'm going to do it. And the challenge was at a young age, and still is to this day, is I have to contrast that against what society is telling me to do. And that's the hardest part, is because I know where I wanted to go, but it was so easy to choose comfort in the near term and get a lot of the things today without earning it. Without earning it, and that wasn't fulfilling. And so when you think about the sale that you make on yourself, you also have to think about, if you don't paint a picture of the future possibility, what are you buying? And you may be buying the picture of your future possibility that society is painting for you. And a lot of these companies are very good at painting these pictures for you, and they make them look really attractive. And they are in the near term. But oftentimes they're just empty. And so let's walk through this. I went through and I pulled up some pictures for you, and let's walk through this a little bit. That's a beautiful car. It's absolutely beautiful. And painting a picture of a future possibility there. It says, women talk about men inside sports cars. That's the key. They're trying to get you to buy a car. And if you're a young person coming out of college, you're going to buy a car that you can't afford to try to be someone you're not. And at the same time, society's telling you to get on the couch, you need to relax, don't work too hard. Don't work too hard, and so you're posting pictures of your new car with you in it, so someone you're not, with something you can't afford, on some sort of internet social media site, but you're not really working hard for it. And then you start playing video games, because you're not doing anything, because you're not a hero, but you want to emulate one. So the easiest way to do that with zero effort getting off the couch, you might have to turn on the machine. I don't know how that works. And these guys are all jacked out, blowing things up, and you've got noodle arms. Well, you're trying to be a hero that you're not, and emulate something when the real hero demonstrates humility and empathy and understanding and can solve conflict with the sword in the sheath, not with bloodshed. And so you wrap this whole thing up, this persona, and you end up in a club trying to be someone you're really not, right? With people who are trying to do the exact same thing with low-level, superficial conversation lubricated by alcohol. And if you go too far, it only ends up in something really bad happening, potentially. And then you wake up the next morning and they tell you that, hey, really fit people drink low-calorie beer. So you go for a mile run, and then you feel like it'll be okay because I can ingest a bunch more alcohol. And then later on, you end up at the casino where the ad is helping you visualize a bunch of really good-looking people. And if you've been to a casino, that's not the case. It's not the case. So hopefully you don't buy that and put your future possibility there. Just fast forward it. Go to the casino at 3 in the morning, and that's what you'll look like. So that you can try to win a bunch of money and solve all your problems there without ever working for it, without ever earning it, without ever truly growing your own project. And so at that time, and you still deal with this, and I deal with this at 23, at 33, at 43, you're going to deal with it your entire life. And I have to ask myself, am I going to let somebody else create my future outcome for me? Am I going to do that? And my response is, fuck that. Fuck that. It's not going to happen. Because I've done it before. And I know there's no upside there. And this is my outcome, because the cost of buying that versus the cost of pursuing my own outcome is my life. And I'm not going to sell it for that. Because you get one shot. You get one shot. And so I pursued the endeavor in commercial real estate. And it is a brutal business. Very challenging. From the brokerage side to the investment side as a principal investor, through the management side of dealing with crazy people like myself, and growing my own project in my direction with my future vision every morning. Get up early. Stay up late. Get the job done. Execute. Make it happen. Painting a picture of my future possibility, compelling enough to change my actions in the present, and I see what happens. Family, affluent area, doing all the things I ever wanted to do. Ironman, hunting, fishing, wakeboarding, wake surfing. I paid cash for a Malibu wake setter at 24 years old. Grow my family's endeavor. Help them with their own future projects. Helping my handicapped child. Working to become independent and grow their own endeavors and living life at a high level. And believe it or not, it comes down to sales. It absolutely comes down to sales. And a lot of these people, every one of these people that's been up here has talked about sales to one degree or another. And it's highly woven into the fabric of what you're going to do, whether or not you feel like it is. So if you have a mindset of sales being a little bit negative, I hope you keep an open mindset to embracing it for your own project and maybe even breaking it down this way. So you see that car, that's you or me in that car. The big cloud over there, that's a big dream. That's what you want to accomplish. That's where you see yourself 5 years, 5 weeks, whatever it may be, the timeline. That's what I want to do. And your why. Why do you want to do it? And your why can't come from consistent reflection of lying to yourself. It's got to be honest reflection with yourself. It's the why I want to do this. And who. Who you are today is going to be different than who you are tomorrow. Because the person that's driving that car today is going to be very different than the person that actually achieved the big dream. They're going to grow. You're going to grow, and growth is going to take uncomfortable situations all the time. And that orange line, that's your how. That's your life. That's your struggle. That's your pain. That's your failure. That's your sacrifice. That's your negotiation. That's the beautiful part. That's the beautiful part. And if you sit on a couch, it's just going to be flat. But if you get after it, you're going to have some ups and some downs. But at the end of the day, if you relentlessly pursue your own future vision of yourself and sell yourself on it every day, you have absolutely nowhere to go than up. And you are going to fail, but you keep going. And you got to sell yourself on it. Because you can easily choose comfort. Don't do it. Don't do it. You got to wake up every day. You got to sell yourself on your future possibility every single day and absolutely crush it.